when life happens, when a loss happens, when life happens, when triggers happen, when challenges happen, my first question that I support people to ask is, can we change or control this situation? And in reality, there's only two answers, yes or no. And when the answer is yes, then I suggest that we put time into that situation. When I'm talking about time, I say, well, how do we actually change this situation? We can talk about it, we can think about how we need to change it, we can put activity into place so that we actually change the situation. But the likely outcome of that is that we actually do change and control that situation. Yeah, we change it and make it one that we feel more equipped to deal with. But when the answer is no, the answer is no. But we still have two choices. And to me, this is one of the biggest reasons why there is so much anxiety and depression in the world. Why? Because a lot of people, when the answer is no, choose option two. The option two outcome is that we do put time into that situation. We do think about changing it. We do talk about changing, and we even put activity into place to try and change it. But the likely outcome of all of those steps is that we don't change or control that situation. Why? Because we never could. The answer was no at the beginning. But as a result of that situation no longer changing, we then become anxious and upset because of the situation that we spent all of this time on still doesn't change. Why? Because it never could. But as a result, we now have less time to spend on the situations that we can change or control. So we have less time to focus on when the answer is yes. Or when the answer is no, we could also choose option one. And the option one is that we do not put any time into this situation trying to change it. We do acknowledge how we feel. That's a very, very important step, because otherwise we go to the concrete. But we do acknowledge how we feel about that situation. But there's zero thinking about it, zero talking about changing the situation, and zero acting upon changing it. So our time and effort goes into option one of the previous slide, is that we feel that situation, we learn how to bring understanding to that situation, we learn how to release that situation from our body so that it's no longer trapped in our body, but we don't try and change it. Why? Because the answer is no. And as a result of that activity, the same step as what was the same as option two is that we don't change that or control that original situation. Why? Because we never could. But now, as a result, we have more time left to spend on the situations that we can change or control. And as a result, we can spend time on the situations we can change and control, and therefore we're less anxious about the original situation. If we take the ultimate loss of what we've shared is the death of a loved one, can we change or control that situation? The answer is no. But I've had many people in the counselling situation who have had to deal with the loss of somebody very, very dear to them. And some of the comments that are very regular is, it should have been me. There's a lot of guilt around of the fact of I should have been the one to go first, not them. Many people have left the phone messages on the answer phones of those people so that they get to hear the voice repetitively. Or frequently you have situations where they don't pack up the house. Yeah, they still keep the clothes there. They still keep the car in the garage that belonged to that person. They still keep all of their material possessions. Why? Because there's that hope that one day they might come back. Yeah, so when we focus on the can I change or control this situation, we just simply say, no, we can't bring that person back. Yeah, no matter how guilty that you feel or how much you think it should have been you, we can't change that situation. So rather than putting time into trying to think about changing it, how it could have been us, or whatever the words are that the person just simply says, Yes, we just need to acknowledge how we feel about that situation, and it's okay to say, I feel extremely sad without that person here anymore. I actually feel a little bit anxious about how am I going to cope in life without this person here. And as we do that, we equally have time to focus on other activities where the answer is yes. Other situations where we get to put in place a situation where the challenging situation is, or the situation that's presented to us is something that we can change or control.